Johnny, good morning.
Good morning. The Saharan silver ant is the fastest ant in the world.
How fast it go?
It goes 855 millimeters per second, which equals out 108 times their body length per second, which equals in humans 360 miles per hour.
No way.
360 miles per hour if they were humans.
But they're not.
They're not.
Yeah, James, it's
They're
not going
I
for
know,
a
but I'm
sexting.
saying relative speed. That's pretty wild.
They feed during the middle of the day. They go out into the Sahara Desert when it's 140 degrees, hence the need for speed.
How about that? And yet, you know what they can't do? Sav, Dombrowski, and Bryce, because they got a problem. Look, let's get to it here today at 215-592-9494. It was a couple days since Bryce spoke, and he spoke at great length about the situation. We're going to play a lot of the audio. Clearly, there is strife. And there's a couple hearts of the matter. One is, and I'm curious as a Philadelphia sports fan, whether you like or don't like what Dombrowski did. What he did is say a lot of what a lot of people have been thinking, but something you don't typically hear from an executive about a star. It's not often in Philly sports history that an executive will speak that way about a star before near the very end. If you remember, like the Carson Wentz thing, it got weird in 2020, but you were at the very end. You were near the very end at the very least. This one shouldn't be the very end. This one should probably still be the middle of his Phillies tenure. 7 years down, 6 still to go with a guaranteed contract. So one of the issues, I'm curious where you stand at 215-592-9494, is if you like what Dombrowski said all those months ago. And then obviously your reaction to what Bryce said. Let's rewind the tape. Let's go to October. Phillies have been eliminated. It's been a couple days. Let's remind you what Dombrowski said. Then we'll get to what Bryce said this weekend. We'll react to it all. Here was Dombrowski a couple months ago.
In Bryce's case, of course, he's still a quality player. He's still a all-star caliber player. He didn't have an elite season like he has had in the past. And I guess we only find out if he becomes elite or he continues to be good. I mean, it's not like he's, it's like if you say to me, I look around the league, I was trying to think Freddie Freeman. He's a really good player, right? He still is a good player. Is he elite like he was before? Probably not to the same extent, and so that's nothing because Freddie's a tremendous player, and that's to me is Bryce. Can he rise to the next level again? I don't really know that answer.
All right, that was a couple months ago. Nothing that he said was wrong, but it's very unusual to hear an executive say it about a star. Let's listen to what Bryce said over the weekend, because he said an awful lot. Here's the heart of his reaction publicly. Bryce shows up at spring training. He says this.
I know you talked once since Dave made those comments in October, and then you wore that not elite T-shirt taking BP one day. How much of a motivator is that to you, or has that been to you this offseason?
Not really. I mean, I don't get motivated by that kind of stuff. For me, it was kind of wild, the whole situation of that happening. I think the big thing for me was, when we first met with this organization, it was, hey, we're always going to keep things in-house, and we expect you to do the same thing. And so, when that didn't happen, kind of took me for a run a little bit. So, I don't know. It's part of it, I guess. It's kind of a wild situation. That even happening. Obviously, I didn't have the year that I wanted. Obviously, I didn't have the postseason I wanted. My numbers weren't where they needed to be. I know that, and I don't need to be motivated to be great, in my career or anything else. So that's just not a motivating factor for me. For Dave to come out and say those things, it's kind of wild to me still.
Kind of wild to me still. It's been a couple months. Obviously, they're not on the same page. John, we got strife. What's your reaction?
Wild. It's wild to him. Wild is code for this does not sit well.
Correct.
Still.
Correct.
He says he doesn't get motivated by this kind of stuff. Well, what did you get? Because you are riled. So what does that mean? You have been affected by this sort of stuff. the fact that he brought up, hey, we've always said around here, let's keep things in-house. He feels like they did not keep things in-house.
Clearly.
He feels like Dave Dombrowski did him wrong. The way that he keeps saying it is wild, it's wild, it took me for a run, it's a wild situation. Basically, what he keeps getting back to is, I don't appreciate getting called out by this front office. And this is not a small thing. I think he also doesn't appreciate being called, an all-star caliber player. Just little things like this can be considered slights,
of course,
by Bryce. And I think he feels very slighted.
Yep.
And,
he's ticked.
He didn't have an elite season like he has in the past, but he didn't feel like getting called out for it. And he didn't feel like everyone needed to be focused on him having a poor season heading into this new one. Basically, Dombrowski's saying, hey, we're going to have to go see if he's elite again or not. Bryce is like, hold on. I feel pretty good about the fact that I've been elite. I am elite. I will be elite. There's a difference of opinion here, but he continues to say he doesn't need to be motivated in this way. He wasn't motivated by Dave Dombrowski questioning whether he could be elite again after an okay season. Well, regardless of whether you think you're motivated by it or not, it seems like it's working. It seems like wheels are turning. It seems like you are saying, you're talking about this a lot more than you probably wanted to. I think this is effective. I think what Dave Dombrowski has done, despite the fact that Bryce hates it, I think that Bryce is about to have a better season than what we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, I'm very interested where, as you listen to our show today, where your mind goes. John just used an interesting word, effective. Whether you think in the end Dombrowski's tactics will be effective or not. Look, it's an unusual approach in modern times.
He has not done this previously.
No, he hasn't.
They were buddy best friends. Let's talk about everything, and you can even we'll bounce ideas off of you, Bryce. Yeah. But this is now entering a different phase of their relationship that I hope they can make it through.
Look, I am intrigued by what Dombrowski did. Let me say that. I am intrigued to see if this works. But I know this, they're playing with some fire. All right, because this is really poking the bear, and clearly the bear 4 months later is still annoyed. The bear is still annoyed. What is your reaction to it? 215-592-9494. I'm intrigued by what Dombrowski did to try to create some positive change, but
he made Bryce uncomfortable.
Well,
and Bryce doesn't appreciate being made uncomfortable.
Correct.
I think the team could be made better because Bryce was made uncomfortable. I appreciate that Dave Dombrowski felt like he needed to make Bryce uncomfortable.
All right, so 215-592-9494 to react to this. Clearly there's strife. James, I saw some of your comments over the weekend. You think Dombrowski was essentially unwise to go this course of action, correct?
Yeah, I think it was incredibly unwise. And I think you just look at Dombrowski's end-of-year press conference, and he made 3 whoppers of mistakes. Like the Bryce thing, we'll get to in a sec, but the Castellanos thing, we all agree, basically was like, oh, we don't want him here. Yeah. Okay, so gave him away. Strom came in, we don't like him. Okay, gave him away. Yep. And this Bryce thing, look, I get what John's saying, and I understand that. I think Bryce is in a way motivated by this, but Bryce is more hurt by this. Bryce feels like trust has been broken. Did you notice that he kept saying this organization in here? He said Phillies, I think, once, the whole press conference, maybe twice. Yeah. Like, he always says Phillies. Like, he said this organization, he is hurt by this. He was offended by this. And, I understand that maybe it'll motivate him a little bit. I think let me put it this way. When I heard this, that was the first time anything can happen if guys get older. That's the first time I thought, wow, I don't know if Bryce is going to retire Philly.
Oh, of course.
I don't know if Bryce is going to be a Philly next year.
Yeah.
If they struggle in the first half at the deadline, this totally changed my perspective on Bryce's future with the Phillies. I think this was a absolute full-on disaster.
All right, so James, what about the argument that Bryce is being a baby? and that the Phillies have things to be rightfully annoyed with him about, and he's not handling this criticism well?
Well, first and foremost, go to Bryce and talk to him about it. Clearly,
what if they had?
Clearly, this is not the way that Bryce is going to respond. Whatever, they read Bryce wrong. Whatever they think, and maybe it motivates him a little bit and he plays better. I honestly don't think Bryce Harper needs to be motivated to be great. I don't know if I've ever seen a player who cares more about his legacy, his spot in baseball history.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the heart of it.
No,
hold on a second. I think the heart of it is, here's what I think the Phillies are annoyed with Bryce about. I think the Phillies are annoyed with Bryce on a couple of fronts, and I'm going over a few years. Some underperformance. Some. Not massive, but some underperformance. Not a great leader. Wanted a new contract, said it privately, said it publicly. His agent and Bryce said it publicly. Seems to have been affected with not getting that new contract. Attitude doesn't exactly seem Tyrese Maxey-like. I don't think they really think he'll play right field, even though he says he will. And I don't think they really think he wants about anywhere than third or occasionally second, even though he says he will. I think they're annoyed with him. They call him out. He calls them out back. We got strife. I mean, James, that list, those are real things.
Sure. I just don't think it's wise to go public like this. I get what you're saying. I just think in today's 20 years ago, 30 years ago, fine. I think it's a different world.
Well, it is a different world.
I'm not saying that I personally like the way the world is,
right,
but it is the way of the world now. And you don't see other teams coming out like Juan Soto. There are all kinds of complaints about him, and you don't see the Mets coming out and being like, well, it doesn't happen. I just think I get what Dombrowski was trying to do. I just think it was a mistake.
All right, I hate this. I hate the statement by Bryce. I don't need to be motivated to be great. I think maybe you are looking past how important it is for everyone to be prepared for this season to the nth degree. You can't possibly be prepared enough. And I don't want you to take that for granted.
Well,
Bryce.
I think what they're trying to say is we want you to be more coachable. And I'm talking about leadership and everything. And he's like, I'm Bryce Harper. There's pride here, so knock it off. And they're like, well, you knock it off. And he's like, well, you knock it off. So, all right.
You could also say, hey, you know what? What I wish Bryce had come out and said yesterday was, I don't think Dave Dombrowski had a Hall of Fame offseason. I'm not sure he's a Hall of Fame general manager anymore.
Could have.
I'd like him to get back to being elite.
Yeah. All right. What is there is so much to this. Your reaction to it, 215-592-9494. We'll play a lot of audio through the show because that's not all that was said. A lot of more was said. Clearly, Bryce is unhappy. I think it's obvious the Phils aren't thrilled with him. What's your reaction on the whole thing? 215-592-9494. Joe DeCamara and Jon Ritchie. We got a star and a team not happy with each other on 94 WIP.